Okay, so introduce yourself.
I'm Blake Hayward. I'm from Vancouver, Canada.
Okay, how old are you?
26 today.
26 today, so it's your birthday.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
So what did you do today? Like, just hung out?
Yeah, I just hung out. A little hungover this morning. Yeah, just been hanging out. I walked down, took a swim here, actually right behind us. But yeah, I haven't really been doing too much since I finished the DM course.
You just finished your DM course. You were in the DM course with me.
Yeah.
But you ended up getting an ear infection. You couldn't finish it. And so like, how's coming back into it?
I was honestly pretty like down when I got the infection and I couldn't keep diving. I really tried to push it, and I went diving a bunch of times, even though my ear was in pain, because I wanted to finish with you guys.
Yeah.
Like, felt like we started the course together. I really wanted to finish with you guys. And the other thing is, a big part of why I did it with Diver's Den is because of the liveaboard.
Yeah.
And I was pretty bummed that I wasn't able to like stay, because the liveaboard obviously came out of the water this week or last week.
Oh, so you've just been on the day boat?
Yeah, I've just been doing everything on the day boat. Yeah, so I really wanted to go back to Ocean Quest, and I was pretty sad that I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Getting an announcement. But yeah, no, I was glad to come back and be able to finish it. They were super courteous about letting me, finish the course. Like, didn't charge me anything extra. So yeah, it was a bit of a mixed bag, but I'm glad I'm done now and officially a dive master, which is really cool. It's something I've wanted for a while. So yeah.
Yeah, because I remember we were pretty sad when you left, because we were like, our whole little group is ending. Because then like right after you left, Edward left too.
Yeah.
So it was just me and Anne, which was fun, but it was like, it just felt like our group just got split apart.
Yeah, it was an unceremonious end for
Yeah.
sure. I was disappointed in how that had panned out, and I didn't get to finish the course with Simon too, who I really loved. Like,
Yeah, Simon was awesome.
He's so awesome. Like, he's everything that I would want in an instructor. Like,
For sure.
he's super like good about giving us tips and what we did wrong and giving us feedback, but he was also really encouraging. Like, never like put us down or anything. Like, he was always just.
He's always super positive.
Yeah.
Always like really good, constructive criticism too.
For sure. And I felt like he was like just in our corner, whenever you're on the boat, you walk by him, like he's gonna let you know what to do, or if you can take some
like he
time to
wanted
rest.
you to succeed.
100%.
I felt like I loved all the people there, but I felt like there were some that just didn't really care that you were there or not.
Definitely. I feel like there were some people who you're just kind of like tiptoeing around, like you almost felt like you were kind of in their way a little bit, but I never felt that from Simon or Mar, to be honest.
Yeah,
I felt
they were both
amazing.
welcoming,
Yeah.
This is like the worst that it's been.
Oh no.
Yeah.
If you want some Gatorade.
No, I got my water. Do you think you're gonna go further into? I know you told me you were going to Thailand for your instructors.
Yeah. So my whole thing is I have like a few months before I got to go to law school, and so I really wanted to kind of travel around. I was originally planning to work as a DM, but it's hard to find jobs in a lot of places as a dive master. They want to hire locals, so like Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, they only hire locals for dive master jobs.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, but instructors, you can work anywhere. Like, the opportunities are just way better.
Would you consider like diving in like Hawaii or Mexico or anything?
Yeah, I actually was talking to a company in Mexico and a couple companies in Hawaii, because those are easy to get visas for. I have an American passport. But honestly, I feel like culturally, like, I want to live somewhere that's a little bit more, like, not out there, but like different from where I grew up. Canada, the US, very similar. I've lived in the States before. So yeah, I want to like experience Southeast Asia. I think it'd be way cooler to work in like Indonesia or Thailand or the Philippines, and also the diving's probably a bit better.
Yeah, you could work for a season, go to another spot, work for a season there.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's probably the way to do it if you're going to be a diver, because like I just feel like if you unless you really love the reef you're diving at, like after a couple months seeing the same reef over and over and over and over again is going to get kind of tiring.
Yeah.
So I feel like being able to hop around and go to different places is probably the best way to do it. Because then you also get experience working in different climates and environments and different types of currents and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And the other thing is, like, I went diving in Indonesia like 3 years ago, and it's by far the best diving I've ever done, and I've always wanted to go back there.
What made it the best?
Just like the health of the reef, the yeah, there's just more more animals. The coral's a lot healthier. There's a lot of drift dives, which are a little bit more challenging, but also you see really big animals. Like, saw tons of huge sharks, manta rays, like really cool shit that you don't really see on the Great Barrier Reef that often. You kind of have to get lucky to see big sharks and stuff, whereas out there it's pretty much every dive.
Yeah, I actually was, like, the Great Barrier was gorgeous, don't get me wrong, but I was actually a little underwhelmed.
Same, totally.
Like, I built it up so much in my head. I was like, this is going to be like the best dive I've ever gone on, and it's going to be amazing. There's going to be all kinds of marine life, and we got there, I was like,
Yeah. No, it's good diving. I would compare it to like stuff that I've seen diving in Mexico or Hawaii, and some of like the really touristy places in Thailand. But yeah, it's just like not. You can see that there's a lot of reef damage. It's been dived a lot. You can tell.
And it might just be like the spots that we went through too, because it's so touristy. Because I bet there's spots that are like the locals only know about to go, and it's probably like less damage and.
For sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's I think I heard 3,000 different reefs that make up the Great Barrier Reef.
Yeah, we only went to like just a handful.
Yeah, and we always go they always go to the same ones. So. I mean, which is an advantage for the people who are diving there, like the dive masters and instructors. They know exactly where the mooring line is. You know, they know where to find, if they're looking for an eel or an anemone or something like that. So it's probably easier, like customer service wise. But for me, I would just want to see, more stuff, healthier reefs. I think there's more out there. I've been diving in better spots for sure.
Yeah. So you said you lived in the States. What part?
I lived in upstate New York.
How long did you live there for?
I lived there for a year. So I did. So I was like a hockey player growing up, and for all hockey players in Canada, there's basically like two routes you can go. You can play junior hockey, or you can go NCAA. So I went that route.
Okay.
So yeah, I played for a college called Union,
Okay.
so like a D1 hockey program in upstate New York. The city's called Schenectady. It's actually kind of a shithole. And then after that, I didn't really like it, so I transferred to McGill.
Okay.
And I finished my hockey career there, or my college hockey career there. And I was originally planning to go straight to law school after. I got into U of T, which is like my dream law school, in Toronto, and I was planning to go right away. And then I called, and I was going to play hockey for them. And I called the coach, and he's like, "Oh, we'd love to have you, but our team's full this year. Like, can you come back next year?" So I was like, okay, either I go right away, give up hockey, and just throw myself into law, or I could keep playing hockey and go pro in Europe and then defer law school. So that's what I did. So I just texted my agent and found me a team. So then I lived in Europe for a year. And then halfway through that season, I got cancer. I got Hodgkin's lymphoma. And so that, I was planning to do 1 year of pro and then go to law school, but then I got sick. So that cut my season short, and I was doing chemo for 6.5 months, all the way through the time that I was supposed to go to law school. So then I pushed it off again, and then I tried to make a comeback to hockey this year, signed with the team, went over to Europe for 2 months, and it just wasn't working out. My body just wasn't the same. I still had blood clots. I wasn't in good shape. Chemo just took a huge toll on me. So the law school was really nice about it. They let me defer again until this coming September 2024. And I left the team around December, and I was kind of lost for a bit. Mental health wasn't great. I wasn't really taking care of myself properly. And I was like, okay, I need to get out of this rut somehow. I need to find something to do. All my friends live in Vancouver. They kind of have, jobs, or they're in school, and I just didn't feel like that was going to be good for me at that time. I wasn't enjoying it. I was hanging out with my friends, and I just felt like I was going nowhere, and I needed to get out of that rut to kind of re-spark my passion for life almost.
Yeah.
And losing hockey was a huge blow, huge blow, especially doing it twice in 1 year. Lost it to cancer, and then lost it because I couldn't come back fast enough. And I do blame myself a little bit for that. I could have worked harder, I could have, made better choices, but, it is what it is. I've accepted it at this point. And so, I kind of turned to diving because I've always had a passion for diving, and I was like, wow, how cool would it be to make that your job?
Yeah.
And so, so then I decided to come down here, do the DM course, and as I said, I was planning to try to work as a DM, but now I'm thinking that doing the instructor course is a better idea, and I have enough money saved from hockey that I could do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That must
so
have been
I'm
such a change, though, going from doing the hockey thing and then getting sick, wanting to be a lawyer, and then coming and doing like DM. Like I feel like that's like so many like just different routes to go through. So like I feel like that could be super confusing, especially if you're going through something like having cancer or some kind of illness like that. Like I feel like that would end up, for me at least, like I feel like I would just end up in a completely like a bad spot because I'd just be like, I don't know what I want to do. Like I don't know which route to go. I don't know what the best thing. Because like even now, when like just choosing to come here, like I was in the hospital last year, no, a year ago, and it was due to mental health. And like it was just because like I couldn't, like there's a lot of things that went into it, but one of the reasons was because there were so many different things going on all at once, and I couldn't, like I felt like I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do or like where I was going with life.
Yeah.
And then like the one thing that I thought was gonna like kind of lead me somewhere ended, and I just felt like completely lost, and I was like, I don't know what to do, and I just lost myself in it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that could definitely, like a situation like that could be pretty similar.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's tough when you have like a direction or like a plan laid out for yourself, and then things happen that you can't control, or maybe you can control them and you just make the wrong choices, which has definitely happened to me. As much as things have happened to me, like I've also made bad decisions, and yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough. And another crazy thing is, after cancer, I thought that like after I beat it, 'cause there was a lot of time when the doctors like
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your lifeguard speaking. Another beautiful evening at cancer.
But yeah, no, I was saying like after, because there was a lot of time when I was sick that I didn't like, I didn't have great chances, or like it was like 50-50 if I was gonna make it or not. And yeah, definitely went through some dark times in that, and the whole time I was kind of thinking, if I make it through this, like if I beat it, I'm gonna be like a changed person, and like I'm magically gonna have direction to my life, and know exactly what I should be doing, or just have like a vigor of living for the moment. And it doesn't really click like that. Like things don't fall into place just because you've been through something. You really have to mentally like search for the meaning in things and make changes to yourself, consciously.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not just gonna wake up and things are different one day, which is something that I've struggled with a lot, like thinking that when you get around that next corner things are going to be great, and I'm sort of now realizing that you have to make them great for yourself, and self-talk, positivity, all this stuff that you hear all the time, and most of the time you kind of just wash it over. You don't really think it's real,
like this bullshit going on here, like
exactly.
This isn't going to help me.
Yeah, you see it on social media and stuff like that, but you actually do have to do the work in order to change your outlook on things, and that's something that I'm definitely still working on, like every day.
Same. Like for sure, because like when I got out of the hospital, I was miserable, and I was like I felt so shitty about myself that I was just like, no one is gonna want to be my friend after this. Like my family's judging me. Like everything in my life right now sucks.
Yeah.
But I also didn't want to be back in the spot that I was when I was in the hospital either. So I was just like, what do I need to do right now, or the next couple months, to make things better? And I had no clue what to do. And one of my friends, Mark, he actually, like, we were texting, and like he would call me and be like, get your ass out of bed and take a cold shower. And so like every morning for the first 2 months, I would take a cold shower, or I'd do some kind of like polar plunge, which really helped like kind of get those endorphins rolling and like get me through the day, or get me through the first half of the day. And then like it would help me be like, okay, I'm gonna go to the gym, I'm gonna do this. It was like little tiny steps throughout the day, and then after that got better. After like each day would get better, then it'd be like each week would get better, then each month. But it was definitely like, I don't think I ever went around like each corner and was just like, oh, this is gonna be like, life is great right now, because I still like felt like there was like an inkling in me that was just like everything's still kind of shit.
Yeah.
But the little moments throughout the day is what helps me.
For sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed this, but I notice like when I'm fully engaged in something, like for me right now it's diving. Like every time I'm underwater, it's sort of, like it does give you endorphins and the physical rush of it, but mentally just like kind of having a break
Yes.
And also like being completely focused on something to the extent where you can't focus on other things. For me, it used to be hockey. Like every time you're on the ice, you can't really think about other things. And I really find that those moments is what, like when you are really engaged in something and you find like purpose or meaning in something, that's what gets you out of those mental states where you're like, oh, everything's shit right now. Because I've definitely been there a lot of times. And I think that the more that you sit and kind of think about things and try to like work them out in your head, like it doesn't really get you anywhere. You know, at least for me, you know, like mental like somersaults that you do, trying to think your way out of things. Oftentimes, you know, you really just need a kick in the ass, like a cold plunge, or for me, like touch grass. That's what I always say to myself.
Touch
like,
grass.
Yeah, like go walk around, or do something that just is actually propelling you towards something different. You know?
Yeah, because it's so easy to just like, if you're in your room and you're in your little comfortable little space, it's so easy to sit there and just like let your mind wander and just spiral down all the negative things that could happen, and all the things that you're afraid of, and all the things it's like why you shouldn't get out of bed, rather than just getting up and being like, okay, get your shit together, go take a shower and go do something, because then once you're actually doing something, it gets those wheels spinning.
100%. It's just like it's a momentum thing. And when you lose momentum, it's like inertia. You know, you're just gonna stay in that spot, and it's hard to get yourself out of it all the time. But yeah, I don't know about you, but for me, diving has just been such a great escape.
Yeah,
and
definitely. For me, it's like, it's the quietness of it. Like as soon as you get under the water, like everything that you're worried about on land just stops. It's like none of that matters right now because I'm in a completely different world.
Yeah, exactly. And I really treasure those moments for sure. I feel like right now I live for diving. Like I've been on land for like 3 days now in a row, or 2 days. I think I finished on Friday. My last dive was, and I'm going stir crazy. Like I want to go
feel like
dive.
A fish out of water.
Exactly. Like I feel like I'm not doing anything that's really like giving me that kick in the ass to like start moving or start doing something. And it's weird. I thought that I would enjoy like having a few days off, but after like one day, I'm like, shit. Like I need something to do for myself. Yeah. And I also feel like a lot of the stuff that I've been through, I've like mentally aged a lot. I noticed like before I would be like super down to like party every night and like, you know, go talk to people and meet people and just kind of talk about bullshit. Now I feel like in my mind I'm like 35 and like ready to like just work and like I find that I'm happiest when I'm working, as weird as that sounds. We're like doing something that's doesn't even have to be like productive, but just like engaged in something that's more than just hanging around and
that makes sense.
Partying. And I feel like a little bit different from people my age now. Just mentally, like I feel like I'm an old man.
So you think that's mainly from your experiences with like getting cancer and stuff like that? Like, do you think that kind of made you have like a better appreciation for what you want to do with your life and like what you should be spending your time?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that like not many people our age are like really confronted with the possibility of dying, and like that really like aged me a lot mentally. And I just kind of have different focus now, and I'm not as into like partying and like just kind of shooting the shit. Like I really want to be doing something more meaningful with my time, which I know sounds silly, but that's just kind of like
I feel like that's kind of where everyone should be at some point in their life, where it's just like, okay, this stuff really doesn't matter. Like I want to actually live my life for the experiences and like build memories that are gonna matter. You know, because like if your memories are only going out and getting drunk every single night where you don't even remember what the night was, and like when you're, I don't know, 70, 80, however old you live to be, and you're sitting in bed and you're thinking like, what was my life actually about? What did I actually do?
No, I mean, I do feel like a bit torn, because I also know that I'm going into law school, which is going to be super fucking hard. I'm going to be sitting at a desk a lot of the time. I'm not going to have the ability to just hang out and, you know, shoot the shit and go swimming in the middle of the day for no reason, or like meet new people at a bar and stuff like that. So I feel like I'm a little like disappointed in myself that I don't have that same vigor and like energy for doing like fun like party stuff like people our age are doing. Everyone else in the hostel is like my age, and they're on just like a completely different wavelength. And I feel like I might look back and regret it, because this is the only time that I'm really gonna have like this 6 months. But at the same time, it's just not where I am mentally. Like, I just feel I feel like I want to do. You can't force it. That's what I'm realizing.
So why law school?
Well, I've always known that I wanted to do like something professionally, whether it be like medicine or law, and I also have a really deep passion for like helping people. And I think that law is just kind of like the best thing suited for me in order to like make a difference in the world. You know, I feel like people go through stages of finding meaning in their life. And I mean, my dad's a lawyer. I really look up to him in the way that he approaches things. And I feel like law is just the best route for me
Good
to be
evening,
able to make
ladies
a
and
big
gentlemen.
difference.
This is your lifeguard speaking. Another beautiful...
Yeah, no, law has always just kind of appealed to me for that reason, the ability to like help a lot of people. And yeah, I just think I'll be pretty good at it.
What if you have to represent someone that's done something really bad? Does that like, is that something that happens often? Because I know like, or do you get to kind of choose who you represent? Like,
Well, you don't get to choose who you represent. Well, I mean, you do. You can say no to any client, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think lawyers kind of look at justice in a different way than most people do. They don't see like good and bad people, like representing a bad person as like, oh, I'm trying to help this person like out of something. You really see the justice system and law in general as more of like a holistic thing. Like when you represent someone, you're not doing a service to them directly, you're doing service to justice in itself. So like, say you're representing a criminal who's done something bad. The whole premise of the legal system is that you arrive at the most fair conclusion based on the principles of justice by confrontation, so like through arguing. And that's basically how justice is represented in society. And so yeah, you might have like qualms about representing someone who did something wrong, but at the end of the day, you're not serving them, you're serving the people. You're serving how everyone would want to be represented. You know, that's kind of the philosophy that they take towards it.
that makes a lot of sense. Like I never even thought about it like that. I just feel like it would be hard to, like, if someone, you know, murdered like children or something, and like they weren't just, you know, claimed insanity or something. Like they're just, I don't want to say evil people, because I don't know if there's evil people.
I think there's
but
evil people.
I think so.
Yeah, there's bad people for sure, but that's just how our system works in a way that everyone should be represented adequately. And it's not, you're not going to, like, if they murdered someone, you're not going to get them out of it, but you're going to arrive at like what's the right response to that.
But you don't think you would feel like icky, like being like trying to represent someone who?
I think lawyers, one of the
or they
things,
just kind of block that part out.
I think they don't block it out. They see justice as, yeah, more complicated than just like, oh, this person's bad, they should go to jail. It's like, okay, you know, this person did something wrong. How is society served best? By, you know, obviously the person, if they did something wrong, they should be punished, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, everyone deserves adequate representation. You have to take your feelings out of it. Just like a doctor, you know, has to take their feelings out of what they're
I guess that
doing
makes
to
sense.
serve not only their client or their patient, but serve everyone properly, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I definitely don't think I'm going to go into criminal law. Like, I don't think I'm going to be a criminal defense attorney. But I definitely have huge respect for people who do that. I think, yeah, fairness. Those are the people who serve fairness. And a lot of people don't understand it, and they vilify like criminal defense lawyers,
Yeah.
and that's a really common thing. But to me, that makes them even more heroes, because they are completely taking out their emotion and just doing what is actually right, not just what they feel. You know, and that's a huge thing that lawyers do, is they don't involve their feelings in what's right.
Yeah.
You know, they trust in the legal system, in the process, in how justice should be administered in our society.
That's so interesting, because I don't think I've met anyone who's ever thought about it like that way when it comes to representing, you know, criminals. You know, I've never heard anyone say anything about, you know, it being just like the right thing to do. It's always like, you know, how can you do that? Like, how can you represent this horrible, horrible man or woman?
I mean, everyone does something wrong, you know. Not everyone's perfect, and yeah, I think everyone deserves adequate representation in a court of law. Like, that's just how the system's set up. It's how, and I also have a lot of trust and respect for the justice system. At least in Canada, I don't know how it works in the U.S., so I can't really comment on it. But in Canada, like, the system's set up so that society overall benefits. You know, and I trust in that. And that's how I hope to approach my legal career. But you can definitely have passion for things like, you know, my dad's family lawyer, so he deals with like a lot of divorces, and And I think he gets like an immense amount of satisfaction out of like helping people get their kids back, or you know, for example, like say guy is not like the best dad or whatever. It's still important for kids to have connection with both their parents, and also to give people a chance to become better. Like say dad is kind of a piece of shit at first, mom takes the kids away, they don't get to see dad at all. Yeah, that's probably like in some ways really understandable, but at the same time you have to give people a chance to work on themselves, make themselves better, and in the interest of the kids, it's always better to have both parents involved.
Yeah.
If for nothing else than to understand that two people who don't necessarily get along can work together in the interest of a family.
Yeah.
So there's things like that I think that, yeah, law would be super rewarding. But that being said, I mean, I want to do international criminal justice.
Okay.
So my dream job is to work at the ICJ in The Hague. It's the International Court of Justice.
Okay.
And so those are lawyers who represent like people who are war criminals and people who prosecute people who are war criminals.
Dang.
So that would be like a super cool job, I think. Like,
How does someone get into that? Like, how do you get up into that level?
so like basically in your first year of law school, you do kind of general law. I think there's 5 courses you have to take, like tax, criminal. I don't think family is one of them. There's basically like some basic classes that every lawyer has to take. I think contracts is one of them. Yeah, there's a few more. But then after, in your second and third year, you start to specialize.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to do international law, you would take a bunch of international law courses. And you actually get recruited in your second year of law school. So you get your job in second year. And you usually will, how it works is it's called the matching process. So you like rank your top 5 firms that you want to do. And the firms have these like welcome days or like meet and greets at the law school. They have like a huge gala. They usually try to get the law students drunk. And then you kind of meet them, see what it would be like to work for them, and then they also will rank you. So they'll put their top 5 students, and if there's a match, then that's who you work for.
Oh, interesting.
So for me, it would be like I would take international law programs. There's a really good program at the school that I'm going to for international law. So I would take a bunch of those classes, meet the professors, they would have connections, and then in my second year, just talk to a bunch of firms, figure out which was the best fit, what's going to be a good kind of balance. Work-life balance is a huge thing for lawyers because a lot of them have no lives; they just work constantly.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of figuring that out, and then probably get matched with a firm, hopefully overseas, and then yeah, just go from there. You finish out your third year, and then you start work like a week after you graduate.
So you want to do like the instructor stuff as like a hobby on the side? Like,
I don't think I'm going to work in diving after this year. Yeah, I think I have these like 7 months where I have basically enough time and money that I can do whatever I want, and I think that would be a really great way to spend these like few months. And I think it'd be so different from law that it will be like a great experience going into that.
Yeah.
But I'm just like trying to have fun right now, and I
Yeah.
think that the instructor cert is going to give me the chance to go to someplace really special and work, and really it'll probably be 5 months at that point, but
Yeah.
make the most of those 5 months.
That's
And then
that's a good way to spend it rather than like just bullshitting around.
yeah, I mean, I did think about going to like an all-inclusive somewhere and just like
Yeah.
posting up for a few months, partying a lot and just having fun.
You
But
get tired of that.
yeah, and I'm just like not in that place anymore in my life. Before I got sick maybe, but yeah, it's changed a lot of things. And the other thing is, I just went through probably the worst time that I'll have in my entire life, and so I feel like I deserve to do something that's fun. I'm not focused on making money right now. I have a good amount of money saved to like put me through law school, and I can pretty much do whatever I want right now. So I was lucky enough to save enough money from hockey that I can just have fun right now, and I feel like I need that. I need to loosen up a little bit.
Yeah. What age did you start doing hockey?
Like 5.
So it was like your whole life,
Yeah,
basically. And
everything.
then-
I moved away from home at 16, like before I graduated high school. I moved to Nebraska. There's a good team there that drafted me, and then they traded me to a place called Prince George, which is like far north in Canada. And then from there I got traded to a different place. So I was just moving around, living in billet houses, like literally all over North America. And then college, you're kind of more centered, but I transferred colleges, so that was another like uprooting. But the whole constant through all of that was hockey. And a great part about hockey is anytime you move to a new place, 25 instant friends who are like going to battle for you every day. Anytime you're going out, it's not like, hey, you guys want to go out tonight? It's like, where are we going? Like,
That's
it's just
awesome.
assumed that you're, so losing that is also a big thing. Like, yeah, losing hockey was huge, like mentally devastating for sure.
So, how, like, if you don't mind answering, how sick did you get with your cancer?
Yeah, so it was like really slow progression. So I had like symptoms for probably 2 years, like just feeling exhausted all the time, just like not feeling well, didn't really know what it was. I had some like skin problems, like itchy skin all the time. I went to a dermatologist. They said, I don't know what this is, can't help you. Went to 2 other dermatologists after that, saw my doctor a bunch of times. No one like clued in to, oh, this might be cancer. A simple chest x-ray would have saved me a lot of heartache and pain. So I was getting progressively worse while I was playing hockey, and it got really bad when I was in Europe. Like, I was really struggling, like just the physical symptoms were wearing on me so much, and no one knew what was going on. So it was a really like confusing, frustrating time where I just didn't know what was wrong with me. I'd seen a ton of doctors and none of them had given me any answers. And then it was in New Year's, almost a year ago, like exactly, around New Year's, me and some friends, I was living in the French Alps. We went to Milan for New Year's just to like have some fun, like just to blow off some steam. We were in a small town, so we wanted to go somewhere big and kind of experience that. And we went out one night, came back, I passed out on the couch, like kind of in a weird position, and I woke up and my entire arm was blue, my left arm, like the whole thing was blue. So we went to the hospital. Within about an hour, they did an ultrasound on my chest and found that I had blood clots running from my heart all the way down to my left arm and then up my jugular. My entire jugular was completely blocked.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and you can actually see in pictures from that time, like right before I got diagnosed, there's like my face was super bloated, there was a ton of fluid, and I just didn't look well. Like, I looked really strung out, like unhealthy, even though I was playing pro hockey, like, you know, living a quote-unquote really healthy athlete's lifestyle. I was going for hikes, skiing every day, you know, I was doing everything I could to like keep my fitness up because it was deteriorating so fast. So they found huge blood clots all across my body, and then they did a CT scan and found a huge tumor wrapped around my heart. So the tumor was the size of 2 fists. Yeah, really, really big, and that was crazy. Like, within 3 hours of going to the hospital, I was like, okay, you have huge blood clots, you're not going to be playing hockey for the rest of the year because of the blood clots. Let's find out why. 2 hours later, did the scan, and they found, you have a huge tumor in your heart. And that's the scariest time because you don't know what kind of cancer it is, you don't know like what's going on, you don't know if you're going to die soon. So they immediately put me on blood thinners, and I wanted to go home, obviously. My parents flew to Italy as soon as they found out, and I couldn't fly for, I think it was almost a month, because the blood clots were so bad that if I went up into a plane, I would get a brain aneurysm or a pulmonary embolism. So I did chemo in Italy for a while, and yeah, chemo sucks. Like, there's no good parts about it. You lose all your hair, you feel sick all the time. For me, I had a lot of pain, which I didn't really anticipate. Like, you didn't think that like physical pain would come, you'd think you're just kind of sick. But I had a ton of pain, like back pain. I got pretty sick. Like, basically spent 6 months straight in bed, went completely bald. That you're on steroids the whole time to help your body kind of combat the effects of chemo. Because what chemo is essentially chemicals that hurt your body. Like, because cancer is your own cells. It's not like a foreign disease that comes in. So basically, they put you under an immense amount of stress that you can survive, but cancer can't. And so it's really ugly. Like, chemo sucks. There's nothing good about it. You're in bed constantly. Steroids make you fucked. Like, you can't sleep, you gain weight, and then you lose a ton of weight from the chemo. And it's every 2 weeks. So you'll have chemo, you're the worst right after, and then you slowly get better. You start feeling a bit normal, and then you go right back in. So yeah, it sucks. Like, I got pretty sick for sure. And it's been a slow crawl back to where I am now. I think I've been done chemo for like 4 or 5 months at this point, and I'm still not normal. Like, my body's not what it used to be. I used to be a pro athlete. Like, I was in good shape for sure. But yeah, now I'm starting to feel more normal. My brain's coming back. I had a lot of memory issues for a while. But yeah, Now I'm sort of finding myself again. And it's really nice to be gone, like all the cancer symptoms before I knew I was sick, all that's gone.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of getting my life back. But yeah, definitely there's still days that I struggle, and still days that I'm not feeling myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got really sick, probably about as sick as you can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the first month and a half is really scary because you don't know if the chemo's working, you don't know, if you're gonna die, or I wrote a bucket list. Like, how many 25-year-olds write bucket lists?
That's sad.
Yeah, it was really sad. It was really sad.
Cool, but it's sad at the same time.
One of the things on it was come to Australia, so I'm checking
Yeah.
it off. So yeah, I'm trying to find myself again for sure.
Yeah. What was the worst thing that you thought when you were, other than like thinking you might die?
I think a lot of the hardest part is seeing your family go through it, because obviously you're going through it and you feel like shit all the time, and you're struggling to like do basic things like eat, get out of bed every day. Like a lot of days I would barely even go downstairs. Like I didn't see the outside. Like you're just in bed. It's basically all you can do to like go to the bathroom. But yeah, I think emotionally the toughest part is seeing your parents, and I have a brother, seeing them go through it too, and struggling with it, and they're trying to be strong and be positive for you, but that they're hurting just as much. So that's definitely like the hardest part of it, is seeing everyone else around you go through it. And there comes a point where you just kind of accept, okay, I'm gonna die or I'm gonna live. It's not up to me. And yeah, there's some times when I was thinking, okay, fuck it, like this chemo sucks so bad, there's no guarantee it's gonna work, like maybe I'll just quit doing chemo, start feeling better about myself, go to Europe, have a good time with my friends for a few months, and then maybe pass away. Like,
It's so sad.
yeah. No, it's a crazy thing. It's a really crazy thing. I hope no one I know ever has to go through it.
I can't even imagine. Like, it just sounds awful, the whole experience. Was there any kind of like silver lining during it? Like, I know you said like afterwards you're like finding out more about yourself. But like during it, did you ever have moments where like you were actually happy?
I think there's like, I had lived away from home since I was 16, so I hadn't been. My brother's like a totally different person than me. He's like way more calm. Doesn't really have like, the same like mental issues that I have. Like I've always had like a huge drive, and that's like a good thing and a bad thing. It's hard for sure, and so he's been living at home or kind of around home for a lot of the time. And so, yeah, getting to reconnect with him, getting to stay with my parents, and playing video games and just kind of bullshit family stuff that I didn't get because I was living away from home for so long. That was nice, definitely. That was one of the silver linings. And then I also met some amazing people, like in chemo. I'm like, every time I go to chemo, I'm like the youngest person there by like 30 years. It's all old people.
Aww.
But it's nice to connect with other people who are going through what you're going through and talk about the struggles and what's good and what's bad. But yeah, overall I would not say that there's a lot good about chemotherapy. It's a fucking nightmare.
I was trying to hold in all my coughs during that.
It's alright. But yeah, every experience I've had since has just kind of been, I appreciate it a little bit more. Like being able to dive out here is just so amazing. Like 6 months ago, I never thought that would happen. Or like even going back to hockey for a little bit, it didn't work out long term. Like my body just wasn't ready. But having the experience of going back to France and meeting a new group of guys and yeah, all of that is just kind of magnified once you've been through something that's so dark. Yeah.
Oh my god. I think I might be like allergic to all of the tropical stuff here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I need some water. I put the mics on this and that was a bad idea. I was like trying to hold it back because I wanted to listen to your story and I was like choking on it.
No worries.
It's weird because I don't feel sick at all. It's just like I get a tickle and it won't go away.
Yeah. I feel that.
I'm okay.
Diving really puts us through it, hey?
Yeah.
Ear infections, getting sick.
Yeah, you looked miserable with that ear infection.
Oh.
We felt so bad for you.
I literally couldn't close my jaw. It was so bad. But at the same time, after going through cancer, like anything like that, it's just
It was just like,
walk in the park.
Yeah,
you know?
for
Like,
sure. Oh, that sucks, sis. Well, you look great.
appreciate
Do you
it.
think that like you would ever? So I know you said that hockey is not in the picture now, but
Yeah.
will you get back into it at some point? Because
I
I mean,
think
it
I'll
was your whole life for a while. Like it's
Yeah.
gonna like I feel like that's something that's just really hard to quit because it's like all you know, you know.
For sure. I mean, yeah, it was my job, it was my identity, it was the thing that got me out of bed, you know, every day to go train. I used to work out like a fucking animal, and I hate working out. But I was working out more than anyone I knew, just because of hockey. I don't do that anymore. So yeah, I mean, it's something I've considered getting back into. I could definitely, you know, try and play for the school that I'm going to. They have a really good team. But, you know, at the same time, I just don't know if my body's ever going to be the same, you know.
Do you think there's a little bit of like fear of failure that goes into wanting to try it again?
Definitely. It would suck to like go and try it again and then get like rejected or not be able to do it. But there's also, you know, there comes a time in your life where you kind of have to give that up. Like everyone retires eventually, you know, and I'm doing something, well, I will be doing something super meaningful to me. Like going to law school has always been a dream of mine. So I think that if I have something to throw myself into, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
You know, that's how I think. Something, like I've never really been like super passionate about hockey itself. I obviously love the game and I love playing, but it was always more of a vehicle for me to like get out my competitive side, get out my drive, to do something that's special. Like not too many people get to play the sport that they, you know, have been doing their whole life as their job and get paid to do it. But at the same time, I'm not obsessed with the game. You know, some people I know are just obsessed with the game and they're becoming coaches now and skills development people, and I just don't think that's me. It's always been, a vehicle for something bigger. So I don't feel like a huge need to get back into it. I've definitely thought about it. I'll definitely play hockey for the rest of my life, like just for fun. We call it beer league. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll see. It would take a huge amount of effort. Like I would have to go to the gym every day. I'd have to be on the ice. I just don't know if I want to do that again. I feel like the chapter was closed for me, not by my choice, but I'm at peace with it at this point.
You said that it was definitely hard finding your identity again. Are you still in the process? Yeah. Are you still in the process of finding your identity?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I feel like a lot of the time I don't know what my identity is. And that's why I value things like going diving, because you're just kind of out of that headspace and really engrossed in what you're doing. And hockey was that for me for a long time, but I don't think that I need to play hockey to find, like, to go back to that identity.
Yeah.
I think as long as I'm doing something that I'm passionate about, that can be my identity.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the beauty of life, though. And I was talking about this with Yasmin, and I think Connor and Danielle and the other podcast too. But like, you're always going to be growing throughout life.
Mm-hmm.
So like, what your identity was, you know, a year ago or a couple months ago is not going to be the same as it is in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, you're always growing. Every experience that you have, every person that you meet, everything that you do in your life is going to grow you into having different identities. And
For sure.
so I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah, and I also think that, I mean, a lot of me wants to find an identity that goes beyond what I'm doing and is just like who I am as a person, what values I have. And I haven't really thought about that too much, because my whole life was just like, oh, you're a hockey player, like your identity's kind of given to you. And people, you go and meet people and they're like, oh, you're a hockey player, like they kind of put you in a box, and you know, you can live in that box if you want. And now I'm kind of having to be like, okay, who am I beyond what I do?
Yeah.
You know, who do I want to be? What do I want to bring to the world? What sort of energy do I want to give to the people around me? And that's definitely a change for sure, but I think it's a necessary change. I think it's just part of growing up, you know? And I was kind of like, thrown into an identity from really young, from before I was able to even think about it. It's always been, especially if you're good at hockey in in Canada, which is probably like football in the States, like people just want you to succeed, you know?
Yeah.
And they'll push you to go further, and so there's not too much resistance, especially if you're having success. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, you know. And now that I'm out of that, yeah, I'm trying to figure things out still, for sure.
Okay, so we'll go back to the diving. What was your favorite memory diving? Like, how long have you been diving for anyways?
I've been diving for like 10 years almost. Yeah, my first dive was like an intro dive in Thailand when I was like 13 or 14. And I just immediately fell in love with it. I think I fell in love with it from the moment I was in the pool. I was like breathing underwater. This is so cool.
It's like a superpower.
Yeah, it's like so amazing, and it gives you access to a completely like different world. And then yeah, every diving experience I've had since, even diving in North America, which is so shit. Like, it's freezing cold. You have to wear a dry suit. You don't really see much. There's no reefs. But every time I'm down there, I'm just like, this is so awesome. Like, yeah, so every experience I've had diving has been amazing. I'd say if I had to do a highlight, it would be a drift dive I did in Indonesia, where it was like a manta ray cleaning station where they have shrimps and fish kind of pick off the parasites on them.
Yeah.
And me and my dad were diving together, and this drift dive was crazy. Like, we're flying across the reef, and we see this manta ray just kind of hovering there, like gently flapping its wings. And so we both hooked in with our reef hooks right underneath it, and just spent all of our air, must have been 30 minutes, just looking at this thing and just being amazed by it, by how big it was and how gracefully it moved and how it was interacting with all the other organisms on the reef, and just like, yeah, just being fascinated by it. And it was at that point where I was like, okay, I could definitely do this for my career. And I never really had a chance because hockey is so all-encompassing. Like, you have to make it your entire life if you want to get to the highest levels. And I didn't even get to the highest levels. Like, I played pro in Europe. There's other people who take it way further. So I never really had the chance to make diving my life until now. And I'm just seizing the opportunity because it's like, yeah, I'm never going to have these 6 months again where I'm not, doing law or really focused on my career. So yeah, that's kind of my diving story. Is I've always just loved it, and now I'm taking it to the furthest level I can.
What was your? It's like every time I speak. What was your worst moment diving?
Ooh, during my rescue course in Vancouver, like not too long ago. It was like my first dive in a while, and I had forgotten my weights. And weighting with a dry suit is super, super important because the dry suit acts as a second BCD. So you put air into it with a chest valve. So you have to manage your buoyancy both with your BCD and your dry suit. And if you don't have enough weight, your dry suits are super buoyant. And you wear tons of clothes. You wear literally ski clothes underneath, like 5 layers, like mittens, like super, super thick insulation. And I went completely underweighted, and so you go down and you're getting squeezed by the dry suit, but if you add too much air, you're going to pop to the surface. And so I was underweighted the whole dive. I was getting dry suit squeeze. I was freezing because I couldn't pump. That's how you stay warm, is you put air into your dry suit, and it gives you a little bubble, and then you're not as compressed. But I was underweighted, and so I really wanted to like finish the course. I didn't want to go back, and because we were diving off the shore, so it was a long surface swim. And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna gut it out, and it was absolutely miserable. I was shaking like uncontrollably, and I've had other dives with dry suits where it floods and you get really, really cold, but you can always pump air into it to make yourself a bit warmer all the time.
Since
But
you're
yeah,
underweighted, you couldn't
yeah,
do it.
I couldn't do that. So it was just a miserable dive. Like,
Was it worth it?
it was worth it to get the certification, and then on our next dive I like added a bunch more weight, and it was totally comfortable, and I actually had one of the best dives of my entire life
But it was
right
just
after.
That moment that was like.
It was just that moment of like, yeah, of just suffering. Like, you're not there to look at cool stuff. You're there learning the rescue course, which is like challenging. You're not looking at cool fish. You're just practicing how to save someone. So yeah, that was definitely my worst dive.
Yeah, that sounds like it.
Yeah, it was awful. It's like literally 6 degrees on like water temp, minus 13 in the air, 2 feet of snow on the ground, freezing
Nope,
cold.
could not be me.
Yeah, no, it's
Not me.
it's definitely awful. But if you're weighted properly and you have the right equipment, it's diving in Canada is fun. Like, there's really cool stuff. And as I said, like later that day we went on a dive and saw a sea lion colony, and one of the best dives I've ever done for sure. So yeah, so it's just, that was like an equipment oversight that I made that I've learned from.
When you did the sea lion stuff, were you ever scared they were gonna come and like bite your hoses?
Not our hoses, but they were biting our fins, and like really close to us. They'll dive bomb you and then swerve away at the last second just to see how you react, because they're super curious. They're like dogs, and they're really smart. You don't really think, like when they're on land, they move so like ungracefully.
Yeah,
They're just kind of
awkward and
hobbling
weird,
around.
yeah.
But when you see them underwater, it's like, whoa, these things are fast. They're huge. Some of them get to like 1,000 pounds. They're just massive.
Crazy. I would be so scared of him like popping one of the hoses or something.
Yeah, I mean, I was
too
with,
curious.
it was just me and my instructor, and as soon as we saw them, we like vented all of our air, pancaked on the ground, and we're just sitting there like, holy shit, like this
That's
is insane. Yeah.
Because like I worked at SeaWorld for a little bit as a maintenance diver, and whenever we would get in the penguin tank, because the penguins were the only ones that we were allowed to like clean the tanks while they were in there with
okay.
us, and they would just like dive bomb you the whole
Yeah.
time. They'd peck at your face, and you couldn't do anything about it because it's like they can do whatever they wanted, but you weren't allowed to like swat them away.
Yeah,
You
of
had to
course.
keep working.
Yeah,
and so
yeah.
you're down there with this like big hull scrubber, like freezing your ass off because the water was super cold.
Yeah.
And you have penguins just pecking at you,
Oh,
and you can't do
jeez.
anything about it.
Yeah.
And it was like I hated cleaning the penguins, but it was cool that you could be in there with them. It
Yeah.
was just, it was painful. Like they would like peck like right between your eyes.
Really?
And everything. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, that sounds a little freaky for
Yeah.
sure.
So like with sea lions, I'd be like, no, don't get near me.
Yeah, well, I mean, the sea lions, like, it might be different in, like, a marine park like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the sea lions don't really know what you are, and so they don't know what to make of you. They're really
Yeah.
curious, and they'll, like, bite on your fins and stuff like that, but they're also a little apprehensive.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll kind of keep their distance, and as long as you don't react, you just kind of stay calm. They don't really mess with you that much. Yeah. So,
Well, that's good.
and I mean, I'd never dived with sea lions before. My instructor had done it. There's a few colonies that you can go diving in Vancouver for sea lions, and she was just like not moving, just kind of sitting there, like giving me like the hang loose. You know, this is awesome. So I just copied her.
Yeah.
And made sure to stay close, like within arm's reach, and we just sat on the bottom again for like 15, 20 minutes until our air ran out, and then we just came up.
Yeah.
But it was a little scary because we came up, we ran out of air, and I was like waiting until I got really down to the end because I wanted to stay there, and I knew she was using her air slower than me.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I showed her my SPG when I was literally like almost out of air,
my
and she's like,
gosh.
okay, fuck, we got to go up right now. And so we didn't get a chance to swim away from them.
So you had to go right
We
up.
went up right in the middle of them.
Oh my god.
So yeah, and it was hilarious because there's a ton of tourists and like people on the shore like taking pictures of the sea lions,
Yeah.
and then they just see two divers come up
Right
right
in
in
the
the middle,
center
like
of them.
literally, and they're all jumping.
That's
'Cause
really cool.
It was
though.
super cool, and we got back to shore and we were just like mobbed by people.
Did
like,
you get
"What the
video
hell?"
of it?
No, and that after
Dang.
that dive, I promise I would never go diving without a camera.
Yeah, because that's awesome. That's really.
Yeah,
really
that's
cool.
one of my biggest regrets is I didn't take a GoPro because I have a GoPro, and I was like, oh, you know, we're probably not going to see them. And it was during my rescue course. It was
Yeah.
literally like the end of it. We finished our certification, and we had an extra tank each. And so we're like, okay, let's go see if we can see these sea lions that were on the other side of the bay.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, we probably won't see them. Like, there's not much to see down here. And then we just had the most amazing experience.
It's always when you don't have a camera
Yeah.
that you
Yeah.
just see the coolest things.
Yeah, no, it was literally like a tornado of sea lions, all within probably like 30 feet square. They were all focused on us. Like,
That is so cool.
it was amazing. It was truly amazing. And that after that moment, I was like, okay, like I fucking love diving, like no
Yeah.
matter where it is.
I
And
gotta
ra-
keep doing this.
yeah, I raved to my whole family about it, and they don't really like. My dad's dive master too, so he's never worked as a dive master. He's just got a certification.
Yeah.
So he likes diving, but my mom and my brother are a little more nervous about diving, and I was like, you guys gotta go. Like, you have to do this. You could do this tomorrow.
Yeah.
Like, I would pay so much money for that experience that I just had, and you can do it for almost nothing. Like. Yeah,
That is
and but they don't.
amazing.
People don't really get it unless you have something to show them. Like, this is what it was like. you
Yeah,
know?
otherwise they're just like, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. And you can rave about it as much as you want, but nothing really does it justice like being there.
No, for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you
It's
know.
the experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's one of the frustrating things is like I'm completely obsessed with diving and I always want to talk about it, but people who aren't divers, they don't really get it.
Yeah, they don't understand.
Yeah, they don't understand. But I find almost everyone, when they go for their first dive, that it clicks for them. They're like,
Yeah.
okay, this is like one of the dopest things you can do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like when they get comfortable at least, because I feel like there's some people that get in the water and they're just like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
panickers.
Yeah.
Yeah, that definitely happens.
and they
Yeah.
get out of this is the worst experience I've ever had in my life.
Yeah. I had a couple of those on Friday. I did 2 guided dives with certified divers, and there's one guy who's just really struggling with his equalization. He couldn't get his ears proper, and at one point I was like, we were holding up the rest of the dive for like 7-8 minutes, and I was like, okay, you just swim above us. And so he just did the whole dive like 3 or 4 meters above everyone. just because he couldn't get down, and he got back and he was like, oh, that kind of sucked, you know. And so I definitely see it, and when people have challenges with diving, yeah, it sucks, but I think the vast majority of people are like, this is so fucking awesome, you know, because it is like, it's so cool being able
really
to it's like exploring an alien world.
It definitely is, because like you don't know, like you look out there and it's just like, oh, like there's this beautiful water, but like what's underneath, and you get down there, it's just like everything's different.
Yeah, and even watching like a nature documentary, like, you know, I always watch like Blue Planet and all those like David Attenborough shows, and it's cool, but it's so different like when you're down there and you're looking at something and it's looking at you, and it's like a real like moment of like, wow, like this thing's checking me out just as much as I'm checking it out. I'm
like,
there, you know, like I could reach out and touch this octopus right now if I wanted to. Like that's
one
so
of the
crazy.
things that I've always said when it comes to like zoos and aquariums. Like I know that like it would be better if they weren't kept in captivity, but like I think that in a way they do a lot of good when it comes to getting kids and even some adults like excited about wildlife and animals and marine life, because like you can see something on a screen and you can be like, oh yeah, that's cool, but you're not going to remember that moment. You're not going to remember what you saw or like where you saw it, you know. And then if you're a kid, because like some of my best moments when I was a kid that got me into wanting to work with animals or wanting to, you know, work with marine life was going to the aquarium or going to the zoo and seeing an animal face to face and being like, whoa, that thing is really cool. I feel like you don't get that same experience just seeing it on TV.
Yeah, you really don't.
You know? So I think zoos and aquariums are good in that aspect to get people excited, at least kids excited, to want to pursue protecting those things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I think diving even just like takes that to the next level when you're like seeing things on their turf.
Yeah,
you know,
you're right there.
Yeah, like that sea lion dive. It was like, yeah, this is way different because they have sea lions at the aquarium in Vancouver, and you see them like catching fish in their mouth, and it's like, okay, yeah, this is cool.
But then you go out into the wild.
Yeah, you go down. This is where you guys live. Like, I'm in your home, you know, and they're like trying to figure you out. Like, why are you here? You know, like that. Yeah, that stuff is just. Those are like magical moments that almost feel like psychedelic.
Yeah,
you know?
And no one understands them unless they're actually in it. Because like when I was in South Africa, I was doing the shark cage diving stuff with the great whites. Like we were doing like research and stuff with them. We didn't see great whites basically the entire time I was there. I was there for 3 months. I went from Cape Town to Consby to Mossel Bay to Durban, and then back and forth to Durban, Mossel Bay, because when I was in Consby, we were doing great white shark research, but there was no great whites because there's 2 orcas up there, port and starboard.
I've heard about those orcas.
That were killing the great whites for their livers. So they were there when I was there, and whenever they would come around, the great whites would just disappear. Like they would be gone for months. So which is why I was like hopping from place to place, because they would show up in one place.
Go find them.
So the entire time I was there, it wasn't until like the last month that the great whites finally popped back up. So we went back to Mossel Bay. We were on what's it called? White Shark Africa, I believe is the name of the company. White Shark Africa. And we were on their boat and we were waiting for the great whites. One came up, and then it disappeared, and we're just like, okay, is it coming back? And then one of the orcas popped up right next to our boat, and we got so excited. Like, I mean, we were disappointed because we were like, fuck, that means there's not going to be more great whites for a really long time. But we got super excited. We raced back to the harbor. We got into one of their little schooner boats, and then we just followed the orcas around. We were trying to get footage of them, like, to see what they were doing around the Mossel Bay, and it was cute. One of the guys was trying to get footage for one of the top researchers there, but like it was just so incredible. Like afterwards we got off and we were just like screaming and like jumping up and down. We're just like, we can't believe that just fucking happened. It was so much fun. It was crazy. And
I find you only get those moments if you really go out and like search for them, you know? Like, and you have to be out there a lot. You know?
For sure.
Oh man, that's amazing. I've always wanted to dive with whales. But apparently they're really scared of bubbles. At least most of the like baleen whales are.
Really?
Yeah. So a lot of people do dive with whales because there's tons of orcas and humpbacks and fin whales like all over the west coast of Canada. That's actually one of the best places to dive with orcas, and everyone there gets rebreather certified if they want to.
Really? That's
because
so interesting.
no bubbles. So
that's good to know.
Yeah, but it's a hard certification to get. A lot of math.
Oh shit! Well, we know about that.
Yeah,
so.
me too. Yeah, me too. Yeah, but apparently, yeah, you have to calculate your mixes and like there's a lot that goes into it. So that's definitely something I want to get certified in, but
So
it's a
freshen up on
challenge.
those math skills.
Yeah, exactly. The RDP table.
Oh god.
Yeah, yeah.
Not my strong.
I don't even know why they teach it still. Everyone has a computer.
Exactly. Did you turn off on us? I think I lost my train of thought.
RDP tables.
Yeah. My nemesis.
They're so terrible.
Yeah. I felt so embarrassed that day too during it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I was just like, well, fuck, call me out, I guess. She was like, Michelle, this is basic. Open water students know this. And I was like, fuck, I guess.
No, I find that happens to me a lot too. The other day on the boat, I was like trying to figure out my flashlight right before I got in the water.
Yeah.
And like I was like obviously gonna do like a check on myself before I get in, but one of the like senior instructors who was actually driving the boat that day was like, you know, at your level now, like you got to look the part. Like both your regs are hanging, your SPG's not tucked in, and I was like, fuck, like
They
give
were
me a
being hard
second. Yeah,
asses to you,
yeah,
jeez.
absolutely, yeah. Yeah, definitely. But I think Mar and Simon made it all worth it. I sent Mar an email, like just thanking her.
Good.
Yeah,
Aw.
she's so awesome.
Yeah, they were both really great.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, if you saw someone that was just like super down on their luck, just super depressed, like you could just see it in their eyes, like what do you think you would do or tell them, or like how would you, based off your experiences, what kind of advice could you give someone?
I mean, I think everyone's different. Like some people need like more of a soft approach. Like I know that from my brother. Like we have the same parents. You know, we probably have really similar genetics, but he's so different than me. And I'm the kind of person that needs like a kick in the ass. Like I need to be doing something. And so if it was someone like me, I'd say go have an amazing experience. And maybe as part of that, do something hard. You know, like for me, getting out of the rut that I was in after losing hockey, I was like, okay, I'm gonna do like diving, you know, and throw yourself into something hard, like the rescue course in freezing cold temperatures. Every
Yeah.
time I get out of the water, you know, you feel just a sense of accomplishment. But it doesn't necessarily have to be something like that. It could be like going for a hike, you know, with no cell service, or doing a really hard workout, or just doing something to kind of get yourself going. But for someone like my brother, it's like, you know, maybe it's not doing something, you know, extreme or crazy. Maybe it's kind of just getting some little things in your life in order, like cleaning your room, making sure that, you know, you eat healthy that day, go for, you know, a workout or something, get moving, kind of organize the pieces in your life that are easy to let slip. But I think that everyone needs a different approach. That's why like therapy is so popular. There's not, you can't just read an article online and be like, oh, this is what I got to do. You know, everyone has different issues. Everyone struggles with different things. But yeah, in general, especially for people like me, I would say just go do something that A, takes you out of your head, and B, inspires you. Like, you know, going for a dive would be like a huge thing that I would say to people. Like, you know, go do something that's out of your comfort zone, that lets you experience something that you don't do in your everyday life. Because I find that when you get into like a repetitive cycle of doing the same thing every day, and you have like comfort zones, it's really easy to mentally kind of slide into a place of like not comfort, but just kind of like going through the motions a lot. So I'd say just busting people out of their routine, like, you know, do something exciting, different. But yeah, as I said, everyone's different. Some people need that time to like recover mentally, and I know lots of people like that. But yeah, doing something that's crazy, and also thinking of your life not in like in terms of just like, oh, like I'm gonna do my routine every day and kind of keep things on the same track. Like think of your life as something that has endless possibilities. You know, you can do something crazy. Like who's gonna stop you? I think a lot of people are mentally held back by things that they think is like the right thing to do, or they think it's what other people want them to do, or, you know, they think that their life has a certain direction, and if it doesn't go according to plan, that they're just screwed. And I've definitely thought that a lot.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. So yeah, just kind of opening up your mental horizons of like, I can actually do whatever I want.
Yeah, you always have the choice.
Yeah, exactly. And like, for me, just doing something crazy, like screw it, I'm gonna go to Australia and become a dive master.
Yeah.
You know, like, and I'm really lucky that I have people in my life that are just like, yeah, go do it.
Yeah.
And I think a big part of that is I do have like a really good fallback plan. Like my parents aren't worried about my future. You know, I'm going to a really good law school, and so they feel like I can go do something like this that's really fun and exciting for a while, because the future's kind of not locked down, but I have a really good path forward.
Yeah.
And I recognize not everyone's as lucky as that. But yeah, I just say, stop thinking about life in terms of like this path that I need to follow, because I think that depresses a lot of people. They feel trapped in a lot of ways. Yeah. And even people get trapped by themselves, you know, like they think that something has to go a certain way, and if it doesn't, then
their life is over.
Everything's out the window. But it's just not like that, and that's something that I've learned very recently, is that you can do whatever you want, and also following things that bring you passion and joy.
It just makes you happy.
Yeah, and
life's supposed to make you happy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it totally is. That's so true. And yeah, I mean, yeah, people have different metrics of value in their life, but for me, my goal is to get to a place where I'm not worried about myself as much, and I'm focused on like making the world a better place and helping people. That's like kind of the final form, if you will, that I want to get to. And I really respect people who live their lives like that. They have, you know, things in control to a degree that they can look outward rather than just looking inward. But I'm definitely not there yet. But yeah, I mean, that's the goal eventually, I think. And I think that if people can get to that place, it brings them a lot of meaning in their life. And I see that in my dad, like, so much. Like, he's just such a strong person. He can absorb so much, like, so much pain and suffering, and like bad shit happens. Our family's had a tough time recently. Like, my uncle had ALS during it's Lou Gehrig's disease. Oh, okay. Yeah, which is one of the ugliest things I've ever seen. Like, that is fucking awful. And it was during COVID. We were all locked down together. So I saw him progress from being able to, like, you know, go on bike rides and like play ping pong and like, you know, do fun things, to literally not being able to move or feed himself within the span of like 5 months. And that's a disease. There's no cure. You know you're gonna die for sure. And he actually had medically assisted suicide. And that was super tough on me, but for my dad, like watching his brother go through that, it's just like crazy. And he just like shrugs it off. Like, he deals with things so like in such a strong way. And I really aspire to be someone like that, who's just mentally really solid and takes things as they are and moves on and focuses on helping people. And
have you ever had a conversation with your dad asking like, how did he get so mentally strong? Like, what did he do to get to that point?
He doesn't really like talk about that stuff too much. I mean, my mom has kind of like, she obviously knows him way better than I do. They've known each other for almost 50 years at this point.
Wow.
Yeah, they've been married for like 35 years, 40 years almost.
Dang,
yeah.
Solid.
Yeah, crazy. They got married at like 23.
Wow.
Yeah, and they didn't have kids until like 32.
Damn.
So they had a lot of time before I was around.
Yeah.
And even she's like, yeah, your dad just deals with these things. He doesn't talk about them. You try to talk about them. Like, I'll be like, how are you dealing with this? And he'll be like, I don't know. I just, I work through it. He just deals with it. He doesn't talk to anyone, not even my mom, who's like his best friend. They do everything together. He's like, just a brick wall.
Please.
Yeah, and I think that he just, I don't know how he does it. Like, even when he lost his dad, like my grandpa, he cried once, and then doesn't really talk about it. It's incredible. He really is just an absolute rock. And
awesome.
It's crazy though. And I don't know the secret, to be honest. These things affect me a lot too, and I know that when I got sick, it really affected him, like a lot. The second time I ever saw him cry was when I got cured. Like, when we saw the doctor, and he was like, he just let it out. You can tell that it had been building up for a long time. I also think that his profession, that's another reason why I really look up to lawyers, is they're just so mentally stable. They don't let their emotions influence their decisions. They do what's right all the time. And I think, just his job has kind of honed that ability in him to be really strong and not let things get to him, and just kind of do the work. And he's a workaholic. Like, that's how he gets through things, just going to work,
Keeping his mind busy.
Yeah, keeping his mind busy, focusing on helping other people. That's, I think, one of the big things that drives him. That's what he talks about as his passion in law, is like being able to make other people's lives better.
That's awesome.
And that's why I want to do it too. Like, using your brain and competing with other people, on a stage where there's real stakes of like, for him, it's like, I'm going to get this woman's children back, or make sure that she's financially okay for the rest of her life, can send her kids to college, or get someone away from an abusive spouse. Like, that's just so like meaningful to be able to give someone that. Yeah, it's just incredible. Yeah, he's definitely inspired me a lot, and I don't know. He thinks that I don't respect him because we've had very different lifestyles. Like being a pro athlete definitely comes with like a lot of like partying and fun, and your life's not that serious, and he thinks that that's kind of what I value. But in reality, I basically copied him. Like he was a dive master, I became a dive master. He was a lawyer, I'm trying to be a lawyer. And I hope that he eventually recognizes that, yeah, he's like a huge influence on me, and in a way, my hero for sure. Yeah, yeah, but there's parts of it. You know, we're different people, but yeah, I definitely look up to him a lot in that sense. And my mom is very different from him too. I look up to her in a lot of ways as well. Like she's an incredibly caring person, like really nice to everyone. Has an insane like social intelligence that she just understands people, understands what they're going through. Extremely caring person. She's more similar to my brother, I would say. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, that's probably my biggest two influences that I've had.
That's awesome. Aw, super sweet. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, camera died. Oh shit. I think there's syrup on it.
We're back. Yeah.
Or ketchup. I find yeah. I think about this is probably when I was in hospital sometimes, but it does make me like get teary-eyed because I'm just like, fuck, like I think about where I was at that time and where I'm at now, and I'm just like, I'm literally in Australia, and I just went diving on the Great Barrier Reef. I got my dive masters, but a year ago I was thinking about killing myself. So
Do you ever find that like those experiences make you kind of appreciate where you're at more?
yeah, definitely. I've definitely looked around a lot more and like felt more gratitude towards just like people that I've been talking with, and like just being like the camping trip that I just went on. Like there were moments that I was looking around and it's like, this is fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like this, this is great.
Yeah, I have those moments all the time too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, as much as the hard shit definitely sucks when you're going through it, I think it makes you appreciate, yeah, what can happen and what does happen, like when you're happy and you're experiencing things. And I find that even like nowadays when I have like some tough times, like, you know, when I got the ear infection and I couldn't dive, and all you guys were all on the liveaboard, and I was so jealous and like so sad that I couldn't be with you guys to finish our course, because we started everything together and I wanted it all to end how I planned it out, and finish the course with you guys and graduate together. But even during those times, I think back on where I was like 5-6 months ago, and I'm like, wow, like even this is just not even close to as bad as that, and I made it through that. Like I can make it through this. And even the bad times, like you go see the beautiful beach, and you're in this amazing warm place, and even when you're not feeling great, you kind of just take a step back and you're like, shit, like it could be so much worse, and it has been worse, and this is so special. You can, even though I'm not doing exactly what I want, I'm not on the boat, just being here is a gift.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's been a journey, that's for sure. Yeah. So before your phone dies, I have this book, and it's my guest book, and it's just you'll write a quote that has helped you throughout your life, or something that you really like enjoyed hearing. You can look through the other quotes that are in here if you want already, and then just kind of explain why you chose that quote.
All right, I'm gonna write touch grass.
Okay. And then just explain it again a little bit.
Yeah. Should I write it down?
Yeah, you can write it down.
Okay. It's just like a reset, I guess. Like, when you're in your own head and you're thinking about things too much. I'm huge, like, I ruminate. I ruminate all the time on things. I always think about past, or like what's going wrong, or like how my life isn't as good as it could be, or how I'm disappointing myself or letting myself down. I feel like our experiences are a little different because I think a lot of bad stuff has happened to you, and stuff like, yeah, I think a lot of my own problems are self-caused. which I'm sure everyone shoots himself in the foot from here,
Yeah, it's all about choices.
from time to time. Yeah, but I definitely think that I'm my own worst enemy for sure. And yeah, whenever I say like touch grass, I'm trying to get myself out of that space and kind of be in the moment and like live,
Yeah.
yeah, not thinking about things all the time and trying to analyze everything that you're doing. And yeah, a lot of times I'll try to evaluate things and like at the time I'm doing them, I'll be like, is this the right thing to do? Is this the right action to take? Am I doing what I really believe in? Am I making the most out of my time?
Yeah.
And yeah, sometimes you just need to go touch grass, get out of your head.
I like that a lot too. I'll make some t-shirts out of these quotes.
All right.
Sweet. All right, well, thank you for being on my podcast.
Of course, it's my pleasure.
I will send you the link once it's on there, and
Sounds
then maybe
good.
I'll see you in Thailand again.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah, hit me up if you end up in Thailand. Just go diving together again.
Yes, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Then just send me the video.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.